yeah,
Exactly,
awesome.
yeah.
So like, and I've been wondering how we doing this. Am I interviewing you? Are you interviewing me? Or are we just rapping about whatever?
I think it's your platform, your channel, your viewers. So I think you ask me the questions, and then
All right.
we just go from there.
Sounds good to me. Okay, so I guess for starters, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and basic things like that, and then we'll get more into the actual light machine stuff right after that.
Yeah, yeah, sounds good. My name is Joel. I'm originally from Switzerland. Moved 8 years ago here to the UK, and my journey with the lights started about 6 years ago when I had a lot of interest in psychedelics and wanted to have a little bit more deeper research in that field, what psychedelics do and what they can utilize. So my research, in my research, I came across the Joe Rogan podcast with Dennis McKenna. And Dennis
Um,
McKenna was talking about the light device he tried out and has very similar effects to DMT. And so that was basically my kickoff and my start, where I thought, "Oh, that sounds very interesting."
oh
And
wow,
so I started looking into it, realized it's not that easy to get one of these light machines. And if
expensive.
you actually find one, you have to spend a lot of money to get one.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
so the initial start for me was really to just tinker and play around and wanted to just build one for myself. And my very first prototype, when I showed it to the first people, they were also amazed. And yeah, it basically started a little bit from there. And when more interest was happening around my prototype, I realized, yeah, it's maybe worth creating a product out of it and
Nice.
moving it to the next step. But my original background is completely different. I started my professional career as a carpenter, made an apprenticeship as a carpenter. Then I worked nearly 10 years for an event marketing agency. And when I moved here to the UK, I just chopped around a little bit, but then I worked for quite a while for a small picture framing company, and that place really utilized me to build stuff, make things. I had access to a really cool workshop and really nice machines, and
Oh,
that's where basically everything started, and it was a really important part for me as well to be able to make the prototypes and make the first few devices.
yeah, because I was
But yeah,
thinking, I mean, it'd be hard to like, what would make you think you would even know how to create something like this? You know what I mean? So you had a background in actually like building stuff and carpentry and whatever.
yeah, exactly, yeah. So the more technical part and the more engineering, electrical engineering part is something I just learned myself over the years. I always had an interest in electronics. I always had an interest in computers, and but over the years, I just gained more knowledge, more insight, and started with simple projects. I made a little camera, dolly robot, and I played around with some small house electronic projects, and yeah, it
Wow,
basically just go from there and um,
that
add
is
add
awesome.
to it. And it's a lot of research and a lot of um, knowing what you want to achieve, and then just basically working hard that you get there eventually.
Yeah, man, that's really cool. Like I like how you got interested in them. Oh wait, maybe before that, what's the first one you tried? Like, was it the Lucia light or the Pandora Star? Like, what was the first light machine you actually got your hands on to test out to
So,
inspire you to want to go ahead and make your own?
so the very first one I've seen was the Achna light.
Oh,
Uh,
which one?
the Achna light. That was also the
Oh,
one he mentioned inside the podcast, Dennis McKenna.
Oh
and
yeah. Okay.
the Action Light has been designed by Guy. Um, he worked back then in the early days for Apple in the silicon development
Hmm.
department, and he moved then later on to Thailand and created his light, and that's the one who Dennis McKenna tried out and mentioned in the podcast. So that was
Oh,
the
that.
first one I've actually seen. The first one I've tried was I tried basically a flashing video in my VR goggles to see if that actually works.
Oh, no
Um,
kidding. Never thought of
yeah,
that.
that
Okay.
was
Yeah.
my proof of concept if that even works. I have to say the effects are not as strong as when you have a proper light machine
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
the screen is just not bright
Not
enough.
bright enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just not it's just not have the and the frame rate of the video and stuff messes with the frequencies, and so it's definitely not the best way to experience it. But it was just I heard about it and I just couldn't believe that that actually works, and I
Yeah.
couldn't believe that these effects he describes just come from these flashing lights. So the most easy accessible thing was just that video, and based on that, we also entered just about into the pandemic. There
Right.
was another hurdle and difficulty around that. So all the places where I actually could try things and go out and see um, started closing and were on the lockdown. So I had basically start very early on with my own light machine before I actually tested the real one. During the
Yeah.
pandemic, then I met the guy from Pandora Star. Got in
Oh, really?
contact with yeah,
Okay.
got in contact
Nice.
with him, and during the pandemic, I met him at his place, and he showed me his devices and how they constructed and made, and that was my chance to try something else.
Mm.
But yeah, it's
You know, like I don't know if this would be appropriate to share, but then like so what is he did you tell him that you were making your own and you were gonna make it for like way cheaper than what they sell theirs for? Or did you not tell him that?
I mean, he knew because he saw it on the website, and
Oh,
because
he knew
yeah,
you was already making it. Oh
yeah,
wow.
yeah. He saw it at he knew what it is. He was he was quite surprised that he comes to that price point because the very first version I released was called the Lighter Slim. It was not slim at all in comparison to devices
It was
today,
huge.
but
Yeah.
it back then the first version was £350,
Wow.
but it was before the pandemic. Um, and during the pandemic, the microchip who was running the Live
Yeah.
increased by 110%. So the microchip before the pandemic was, I think, a little bit more than £1, and during the pandemic, the price has risen up to £11 per microchip. So
Oh jeez.
it became incredibly expensive to make the devices. So before the pandemic, I set the price for £350. I ordered a lot of material to basically fulfill the orders and maintain a steady flow.
Yeah.
Um, but as soon the stock was out and I basically had to move to a different type of electronics as well, I also decided to introduce the second version of the light. That was that one here. That's
Oh,
the one
okay.
who's still on the website. It's the Light Magnify. That thing traveled around the world and proved itself. Made loads of events with that. And
Nice.
the cool thing was it was really the first battery powered type of light on the market. Uh,
That's one of the coolest things about it,
yeah,
man. It's so portable. You just take it around with you wherever you want to go. Yeah.
so the when you look at competitors like the Pandora Star or Lucia Light, they come in with a massive power supply. Um,
Yeah.
so you have the light device, which is already hunk of a device, and then you have also the power supply. And because just after the pandemic, I was talking to someone, her name is 3Car,
Oh,
She's
Tree. Yeah. I
yeah,
know her. Right.
she's a lucid dreaming expert,
Yeah,
deaf
she's
doula,
awesome.
a very
Yeah.
active soul, especially on Instagram. And we started talking about making the lights for events. And for me, it was just important, first of all, that everyone can keep the distance. Back then, 2 meter distance was a given.
Yeah. Everybody had to stay away.
So I had to lie under his arm light. You couldn't throw them all on the same light. And
Yeah.
I just didn't want the whole room filled with cables and power supplies. So it
Yeah.
was really important for me to make it battery powered. So the last little bit more than 2 years, we sold the Liber Magnify, and but manufacturing was always it's since day one is kind of an important part, because manufacturing can be
Yeah.
quite expensive. And
I would imagine. Yeah.
especially if you build hardware, the development of a device and also making it reliably manufacturable is quite
Yeah.
tricky. But if you make, for example, don't know, a hairdryer or a vacuum cleaner, you have a
We don't need
massive
hair dryers. Me and
meaning.
you are good on those.
But when you make a device, it will bring more in that perspective. If you make a device which is widely used worldwide, and you probably sell thousands or millions of a device, you can manufacture for extremely cheap. It's
Yeah.
and you can basically shift your whole manufacturing somewhere to Far East, and they can they can produce thousands, 10 thousands of devices relatively cheap. But you have to know that these devices are being sold within a
Yeah.
short
You
time.
got to have the demand. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, so when you are a little startup, and you're working in a niche market, um, and you're creating devices within a niche market, it's pretty crucial to have your manufacturing dialed in, and your production dialed in, so you don't have to manufacture 10,000 devices, and it's
Yeah.
still you can still make them to a fair price.
Yeah.
So that still to this day, that is a tricky task to do in these fields, because it's
You've
still
been
a
doing
niche.
great so far with this
It's
thing, man. I mean, it's going good.
it's a
The
niche
pricing is,
market, and
yeah.
but yeah, I definitely seen a massive increase in sales from the Liber Slim to the Liber Magnify.
Mm.
Um, but I also had often feedback of people using the Liber Magnify that it might be a little bit too complex to change certain settings, or there's also certain settings in the Liber Magnify which are a little bit more confusing or difficult to understand for some. So it was for me important to basically make the next version of it. And the only way to think of the next version was also adding features, making it more encompassing, adding more more interesting sessions and stuff. So I basically started working on the Liber Aura. That's the Liber Aura has a little touch screen on the top, and you can also pair it with a smartphone, where you have a web app, and you can program
Oh,
session
really?
programs and all that. So it's basically a very similar device you would see something similar you would expect from a Pandora Star or a Roxiva Light or
Oh,
something like that.
okay.
But it was meant to be released this year, and but I also realized that there are already a few quite big practitioner devices on the market. They're also quite established in that market as well. And for me, it's just important when I release something with Lightback that it is just spot on. I don't want to release something people. I'm not the guy promising all the 100 features, and when you receive it, you actually get them somewhere in a year when they
Mm.
actually someone are released. But that's not me. So I rather wait a few months, and have it to that level I'm feeling the device deserves,
Oh
and
yeah.
also my customer deserve, and hold back a little bit.
So yeah.
So
So that other one isn't out yet then. The
it's released on the website. It's
oh,
presented on the website, and at the moment they're just working in more specific projects with that light. So it's more specific companies who have maybe um, specific needs for specific frequencies or specific sequences, or yeah, just unique use cases. But
okay.
I
Yeah. So
have to
you have
say,
three devices
yeah,
available total. Yeah. I'm looking at it now. You got the Loom, Magnify, and then the Aura.
exactly.
Yeah.
The Loom is the one you tested in your video. The
Yeah. Yeah.
Magnify is the one we sold for the last 2 and a little bit more years, and the Magnify, the Aura. And the lineup was meant to be Aura comes out first and the Loom afterwards. But yeah, I decided to do it the other way around. So because I've seen definitely a potential for a device which is a lot simpler, which doesn't need an app, it doesn't need you don't have to go through 100 different session
Yeah.
programs and
Yeah.
decide
Yeah.
which one is it.
Turn
Is
it
it more
on.
the
Yep.
the space relax, or is it more the walk through your mind relaxed session program today? So I want something very, very simple and
Yeah.
easy to use. I even stripped some functions out of the Magnify functionality to make the Loom. So it, for example, doesn't have a timer inside, so you can't set a timer on the light
Oh. Yeah.
on the Loom, and you also don't have the fifth frequency generator, the LFO.
The frequency generator, or what you said?
The the Magnify has 5 frequency generators.
Mm,
So
mm,
for each LED, it is one. So technically, all LEDs can play a separate frequency, but they also can play all together the same frequency.
yeah.
And the Magnify has the fifth frequency on top, and that's the LFO. It stands for low frequency oscillator. It's a term
Oh.
from the synthesizers, and the LFO basically changes the overall brightness of the light based on a wave. So you can
Oh, okay.
have the flashing going on, but the LFO stops the maximum brightness an LED can go and
Mm,
basically modulates it along a wave. And
oh, okay.
it's a very unique feature, and I really like to use it. But it's also a feature a lot of customers received the light and had to spend extra time in video calls and
Yeah,
on website and
like
all that to
understanding it, how come
explain
it's
what it
not
actually
as
is.
bright, what's
Yeah,
happening. Yeah. Yeah.
and that just
Yeah.
feel for a technology which is not very well known, like brainwave entrainment, visual brainwave entrainment. It's just important to have a device which is simple to use, just has
Simple.
a
Yeah.
very,
Yeah.
very, very little resistance to actually use it.
Yeah.
And that's where the Loom comes in. And funny enough, I have access to all devices myself, and
I would imagine.
my daily
Yeah.
practice is still with the Loom. Since I have my own little prototype in my hand, I solely, almost solely
Yeah.
use the Loom device. And the most of the events I made in the last weeks were all done on the Loom as
Oh,
well. So it's a very, very, very capable device, and it surprised even me sometimes. So,
yeah.
yeah.
The price point on it, I think, is really solid. I mean, especially comparing it to, like the Lucia light or whatever. Like, have you ever figured out why it costs like $25,000 for the Lucia light? That is
Um,
just absolutely outrageous to me.
I mean, to be fair, Lucia is the only one on the market who has a patent, and the
Oh,
patent is
oh, it's patented
the
something. Yeah,
patent
yeah.
is centered around the halogen light with the LED lights, and a patent is incredibly expensive.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
the initial investment for having the patent, and also they're manufactured in Austria. So I think they have quite a high base wages there as
Oh,
well.
oh yeah, yeah,
It's completely built in stainless steel. So that there's definitely something on that light which makes it expensive. If it's actually £25,000 worth,
I,
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that's what it was. But anyway,
But it's
regardless, yeah,
definitely they definitely have their name and foot in places
yeah,
where
they were like the first one,
25,000
right?
maybe
I
is
think.
not there. And but when you, for example, look at the Pandora Star, how a Pandora Star is constructed and built, it also kind of makes sense, the price point. Um, but it doesn't mean you necessarily have to build it that way. So
Yeah,
I found fairly quickly that the alternatives to build a device like that, which makes it much easier and cost effective to build.
yeah,
And I was, from the beginning on, my main motivation was really to, hey, um, that's something I want to bring to people. It's
yeah,
something I want that people can use. And if you make a device which is, even if it's scratching the 500 to 1,000 um, pounds mark, it's still on a price level most people not are willing to spend for.
yeah.
And it was from the start. It was my big dream to make something around the £100 mark. I think that has a
Yeah.
that is a price point where a lot of people think, I just try it out. If I like it, then I like it. If not, and haven't lost much. Um, and it was incredible difficult to get to that point. It was really
I bet.
difficult. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was really difficult to get the below £100 mark and not making something cheap.
yeah,
Yeah, because that's important as well for me, to have something nice, to have
yeah.
a
Nice,
device
build
that,
well.
yeah, built well, sturdy, and does what it promises. I don't want to basically cheapify the whole system.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's really interesting, man. I mean, that's cool. Like, but before you were kind of getting into the lights, did you have like a big background in meditation already, or is
Yeah.
that something that kind of? Oh, you did, you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I wouldn't say I have a massive meditation practice, but I definitely have a certain spirituality, and practice my own spirituality, or been practicing that over many years, and that includes kind of meditation and mind wandering and mind exploration and reasoning for our universe and the thing we have around us.
Oh,
So
nice.
um, so the light definitely utilized or played into that quite well. And the interest for the psychedelics came also from that background. So that from that, oh yeah, you can go that far, and how much further you could go when you take certain substances.
Yeah.
But it was really hard to kind of find access to these substances, because here, at least in the
Uh,
UK, most of them are basically illegal, and it's not just something you go around the corner and say, yeah, I have that.
man,
So light
they're getting
was very
pretty easy
accessible
to
for
find here.
yeah.
You can go like to certain smoke shops and grab like like basically psychedelic versions of some mushroom thing in a chocolate bar. You just walk down the road, walk into the store, you can just buy that stuff straight up now. It's kind of crazy. But
Yeah, yeah.
so, when it comes to say doing or like I guess for example, what is your meditation practice like away from the light? Like do you have a certain you following like a certain traditions type of meditation, like I don't know, transcendental meditation approach? Do you like to follow your breath? Like what's your general technique for meditating if you were not using the light?
So for I usually concentrate on a point around here on my head, just the breath. I try to follow the breath, but when I follow the breath, I often start thinking too much about the breath and
Oh
how,
yeah.
yeah, how the movement and stuff, and to start wandering off. So when I basically concentrate on a point somewhere on the forehead or on top of the head, that's something static. That's something that doesn't move. But during my meditation, I have kind of two types of meditation. If I just do meditation without the lights, but
Yeah.
if I do meditation without the lights, then I have one where I just try to calm down my head and basically just focus on one point to basically remove any distracting thoughts or get rid of thoughts that lead to a next thought. If
Okay.
something pops up, I just let it go. If something pops up, I just let it go. And if I sit normally in my head, something pops up, and that leads to the next thing, and that leads to the next thing, and that's basically the endless cycle. So I just try to kind of um, quiet the mind for a while. Um, the other one is more where I try to step a little bit aside from myself, where I kind of just try to sit next to me and just be aware of my environment and be aware of me in that environment. And I just try to achieve that by consciously thinking about just like I would sit a meter next to myself where I'm actually sitting. And
Okay. That,
it
that, that,
it
that sounds, that sounds kind of like lucid dreaming to me in a way, where like you're following what's happening, but then you're kind of like one step removed from it. So it's kind of like you're almost like beside yourself.
yeah,
So you're maintaining your lucidity within the dream. You're still interacting with stuff within the dream, but you're keeping that like one step separation from it, or else you get totally wrapped up back in it, lose your lucidity, and then you're in a
yeah.
regular dream from that
So
point. Yeah.
the meditation practice I have in that moment is more keeping or maintaining the effort, staying in that state. So it's not really achieving the state gives me the meditation practice. It's more trying to maintain it. And that effort cancels some thoughts and some patterns I have in my head. And yeah, it's kind of a trick I play on myself
Nice.
to get where I need
It,
to.
it's
Yeah.
good knowing all those little tricks to kind of like, like what works. All right, so then how does that differ from actually using the light? Okay, hold on. Can you hold on really fast? I hear someone outside the door. I'll be right back,
Yeah,
real quick.
of course. Yes, I did. Yeah. There are some devices shipped to Brazil. Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that. All right, so anyway, how does that work? So what's your approach with the light for meditating?
So
Yeah, into the light. Yeah.
So in general, I divide the practice of the light in three different types of practices. I have one which is more health oriented. Then I have one which is more about personal journey and emotional journeying. And the third one is more psychedelic focused.
All right.
And with the practice about health, it's more higher frequencies or very low frequencies. So when you have on the Loom Light, you can see you have the delta and you have the gamma.
Yeah.
Let me just turn on the delta. On the Magnify, it's called the candle mode, the delta. But it's a very very slow, very slow pulsing
Okay.
light
Yeah.
frequencies. So if you try for the first time, you might think, oh, that's a little bit boring.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah, no, yeah,
actually
you want the fast
it's
lights,
actually
right?
one of the most powerful sequences on the light itself. And I just made
Oh,
3 days mind body spirit showers. I had loads one after another under the light, and a lot of people really appreciated the slow one. So the slow one is delta, and it's everything between 0.5 to 4 hertz.
yeah.
And when you close your eyes and you observe delta, it almost feels like, or it reminds myself always, like you sleeping away in the back of a car, and you have just the street lights passing. It's 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 really really relaxing.
Relaxing. Yeah.
It makes you almost drowsy, almost you fall almost in a trance state. I feel the visuals when you start using it in the first 5 minutes, not a lot is happening. But when you really fall into that drowsy state, the Delta has quite interesting visuals. It has much slower visuals, and it almost feels like a dance, kind of.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
And that is great for people with, for example, hypersensitivity, constantly overstimulated, people with ADHD, people with insomnia, sleep problems, people with really high stress, or people under pressure, things like that. So it's a really powerful and simple light sequence I love to use, and that's more in the health area of the practice. The other one in the health area is the gamma, and hold on, I turn the gamma on for a sec to show you how it looks. So the don't know if it translates on the video, but gamma is nearly standing light. So
Yeah, it's fast.
when you look into it, you can first few seconds you can see, oh yeah, it's flashing, but after 3 4 minutes, it becomes almost something like you're losing almost the vision of the actual flash.
Yeah.
The gamma program on the Loom is mainly anything around 40 hertz. In the last few years, they made remarkable research around light frequencies in 40 hertz and the positive impact it has on the brain. So as we get older, we're losing gamma activity in the brain,
Mm.
and that attracts a certain type of a protein, and that protein creates what's called perineural nets.
Oh,
So basically, brain plaques, and these brain plaques eventually lead into Alzheimer's and dementia. And they showed in an MIT study that you can actually reduce brain plaques with light when you expose yourself every day around 40 hertz. So it was a remarkable study. They could show the health benefits. It's also goes into brain plasticity, for example. People have do a lot of studying and have to learn a lot.
mm.
When we're young, we have a very plastic brain, so learning a language is very easy. The older we
Yeah.
get, the more difficult it gets, and that has something to do with the brain plasticity. So the gamma program also plays a lot into brain health, and can also be used, for example, if you're a little bit tired throughout the day, and you can give yourself a little bit of boost with it. You easily can skip a coffee or an energy drink
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
5 or 10 minutes of gamma program. And when you look what ingredients some of these energy drinks have, it's shocking. So
They're
it's
not good. They
probably
work
better
good,
just
but they're not good for you.
no.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's probably better just using a little bit light and use that in a very natural way. So that's kind of the uh, border around the health aspect of the light.
Yeah.
And that's where I suggest using it every day between 5 and 10 minutes. You can also do 2 sessions, maybe one in the morning, keep it short, around 5 minutes, and do one in the late afternoons or in the evening for sleep, or if you have a fatigue throughout the day or brain fog or things like that. So you can definitely help yourself out with the delta and the gamma program on the Loom Light. The second way to work with the light is more the emotional direction. So that's why you journeying more into the visuals, maybe make notes or take notes, maybe record yourself with a voice recorder, and just basically take note what you see, and then you allow yourself a day to digest everything, and you also make, yeah, you basically put a new target onto the next session. So when you go back into the light, you take basically your findings and your things you
Mm.
put together in the last session, and you integrated that. You bring that into the next session. So you always do one session a day, and then you skip a day, and then you do a day, and you skip a day, and you do a
Oh,
day. So you have always every other day. Um,
interesting.
and that is really good for personal development, for self-reflection, for breaking out of mind loops, behavioral loops, things you do every day, you not really realize, but you just do it. And you can really work on behavioral patterns like that in this practice. The light has a very similar effects like psilocybin. Psilocybin
Mm.
disturbs the standard brain network temporarily, and your brain is kind of forced making new connections.
Yeah.
So the light disturbs this brain activity in a very similar way, and your brain needs to find other ways to get information from A to B. So you allow your brain to make these new connections and allow your brain to make new thought patterns as well.
Yeah. Kind of like neuroplasticity or something. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's more the personal type of emotional type of journeying with the light. And then there's also the more psychedelic approach to the light. And the psychedelic approach, I would say, goes more towards half an hour, 45 minutes per session. You keep the session to once a week, or maybe max twice a week, and you just build your whole setting around it. You allow enough time for the whole experience to happen. You maybe have some incense burning as well, some music going with it, and or you going doing outside in the forest or in the desert
That
or
does
wherever you
sound
live. And
fun.
but
Yeah. I haven't done that with mine yet, but I want to. Yeah.
so that is more a deep journey, and that's more kind of working with the actual visuals and empathizing with
But I tend
visuals
to do
and
the most with it.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, where the practice is more, okay, you go on the light and you kind of start talking to yourself what you see or in which direction you want to drive it, and it's more things coming up and things are going, and it's more that fast turnover and can be visually quite intense. So there, you have overall 4 programs on the Loom Light. One is the Schumann frequencies. That's the one you were a little bit confused in your
Yep. Yep.
review about.
Yeah.
The Schumann frequencies is one of the 2 frequency settings on the loom who actually mixes different frequencies together. So
Oh,
you
okay.
have 4 LEDs, and all 4 LEDs are capable of playing something different. And the Schumann utilizes that as well. So it uses the frequency 7.83 hertz up to 55 hertz, and it's just a multiple of the base frequency. The Schumann frequency is our own Earth's frequency, and it gets basically generated through sun reflections within the stratosphere and the electrical discharges within the atmosphere. That gives
Wow.
a base rhythm to our planet, and that's a 7.83 hertz. And we are very receptive to that frequency, and you also see it a lot in different holistic healing settings used, for example, in sound therapy, um, or you probably use the shamans use it on the drums and things. So everything is kind of subject to that frequency. When used, it can be extremely grounding. So when used under light, it feels extremely grounding. And it's really great to be combined with other holistic treatments like aromatherapy or music therapy,
Mm.
or it's also a great setting when you're outside in the woods and in nature, when you just listen to your surrounding and you have the light. It can be quite a driving frequency set. And then you have the last one, which is the alpha, and the alpha is between 8 to 12 hertz, and it's quite a intense
Yeah.
pulsing light, and it's also quite constant. So most of the videos we release on Instagram or on videos are usually that,
Using that one.
because it just
Yeah.
looks it
It
looks the most
looks
effective.
better.
It
Yeah.
looks
Looks
better,
fancy.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
it doesn't play around with the frame rate of the video. So that's why we usually use that to showcase the device on Instagram.
Yeah.
But just want to say there's a lot more behind that than just that. And that manifests as quite vivid colors. So a lot of people have quite heavy visuals from that.
Visuals. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So binaural beats, for example, are also kind of on that 10 hertz mark. So used two frequencies on either side of the ear,
Yeah.
and the average you have between these two usually adds up to 10 hertz. So because it's also we're quite receptive to 10 hertz, that's why they use it quite often in binaural beats. And that's more one I use for psychedelic settings.
Yeah.
And
So
yeah,
interesting on that note. Have you tried it, like using it, basically turning one of these into a mind machine where you're going to be listening to, some sort of binaural beat track while you're sitting under the light?
yeah,
Because that's one of my favorite
yeah.
things to do with it.
That's
Yeah.
that's interesting that you mentioned that. So I think music plays a massive role in using the light, but I don't think having the light in sync with the music necessarily adds much to the experience.
I found the
Also, when you
same thing,
yeah,
honestly. Yeah. Yeah.
so also for example, when you listen to Guy Harrison was his name, from Action Light, he clearly stated that his light deliberately doesn't play in sync because
Oh,
he
really?
deliberately wanted to have that brain detachment and basically have the brain plasticity through that.
Yeah,
So
making all the separate connections because it's not in
if
sync. Yeah.
it's not based on any science, it's just the way he interpreted his work and how he thinks it worked the best. But funny enough is having the light in sync with music is one of the most requested features I have every day. So that is
Yeah.
that's yeah. If I have feature requests, it usually goes in that direction. Funny enough, it's usually people who never used the light before. So when people
They
use the
probably just
light,
assume it's better, right? I mean,
they
because they were like,
just
oh, well,
assume
if
it's
it's
better.
frequencies, find hemisync or whatever, might as well sync them up. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I have to people buying the light, and I receive messages from these people saying, how is it possible that my light knows what's playing on my earpods? I said, that's not possible. It's not happening.
Your brain is
I'm
just making it
sure
hook up.
it's
Yeah.
happening. No,
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
happening. There's nothing in sync. But it's an effective brainwave entrainment. Our brains are really out and about to find patterns. We like patterns. We like
Yeah.
visual patterns. We like audio patterns. When you listen to music, which is out of rhythm, we immediately don't feel that music is nice to listen to, for some. But but so we like rhythm, we like patterns. So when you listen to music and you answer the light, your brain automatically starts connecting the frequencies you see on the light with the frequencies and the pattern and the rhythms you hear on your earphones or through your speaker. So you immediately get the impression the light is in
It's
sync
thinking,
with the
yeah, yeah,
music.
yeah.
But I play a lot with different music. So I play with only white noise, but it's just very isolating. I like ambient sounds, but it's more a journey, a soundscape journey. But I also like listen to the traditional Indian music, and that rhythm kind of really plays well
Hmm.
with the colors and the patterns, and it's very cheerful. Um, but I also like with the work with dark music, where the music maybe brings you a little bit in a more tight and more depressed space, and
Mm.
you can work there as well with it. But I think music is a very important part to the light experience, but not necessarily a crucial part. When you do it out in nature, it's also beautiful just to listen to the birds
Yeah,
and to the wind going through the dry leaves, or listening to the river or the water you have around you. It's also beautiful to just be in silence and listen to your
yeah.
own
I like doing it.
pulse
Like
and
I did it a couple of
yeah.
times with straight up wearing earplugs, and that was nice. I mean, I like to sleep with earplugs anyway, but I found that when I had the earplugs in and you have the light on, that was a nice combo with it as well.
Yeah. Um, yeah, heat match, for example,
Music with bass.
vibroacoustics.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, that's also a very interesting effect. I have one at home. I have a vibroacoustics bed. It's a bass shaker underneath a bed.
What?
So when you lie on it, when you lay on it, the whole
Damn, I
bed,
want that too. That sounds
yeah,
awesome. No, no
the whole
kidding.
bed is
Did not know they even made such a
vibrating,
thing.
and it's awesome.
Vibro.
There's
You gotta write that
yeah,
down.
this is a company. I think it's from Finland, as far as I'm concerned.
Sounds
They make it.
expensive. It
They
must
make
cost a
these
lot.
massive make these massive platforms. But you also can make very easily one yourself when you just search online for a bass shaker. They're often used for game
I got
rigs.
one literally right underneath my desk right now.
Okay, yeah. So you can use
Yeah,
them as
yeah, yeah. I
well.
mean, just a
So
sub, like a surround sound system with a sub and
yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the bass shaker doesn't make really a sound. It's just a little weight inside that
Mm.
case, vibrates with the music together, and it just translates into
Yeah.
vibration. They're usually used for example, in the cinema, they put them underneath the
Oh,
seats. So
okay. Yeah.
when you're next to the vibroacoustic bed, you can't hear anything. But when you lay on it, you really feel all the vibrations in your body. And combining that with the light is quite an intense experience as well.
Oh,
And I
damn.
have
That sounds awesome.
there's a project in Mexico. It's called Lumena, and they use the light and they use a haptics vest used for gaming and so on, and they combine
I
that
got
with
one of those someplace.
when you
Like one of these
yeah.
things.
Yeah,
Huh?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have these haptic vest. They combine the experience with the light and the vest together, so it's quite a cool
I never
combination.
thought of that. I should try that out too.
Yeah, you definitely
That's
should. You definitely
that's
should.
cool.
Yeah. So when you, for example, listen to John Hopkins' last album, The Ritual.
Okay. Haven't heard that one yet. I'm gonna try to write that
Yeah.
down. Don Hopkins.
Yeah, it's. I'm gonna type it into the thing. It's John Hopkins, and the
Oh,
album
God.
is Ritual. It's all songs together add up to about 35 minutes, and it's a beautiful album to be combined with the light or vibroacoustics. It really brings you through a journey. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah. So kind kind of talking about those, have you tried it with the Gateway Experience tapes?
I never
You know,
listened
so
to the Gateway Experience tapes.
yeah.
I never listened to them. I heard
Never?
actually heard never heard about it.
What?
The first time I heard about it was in your video, and I googled
Oh,
around
no
for it.
kidding.
But yeah, they're also quite an exclusive product, so I
No,
struggled to
no,
find.
no. You can get that crap for free already.
I
So I found a pretty good link to it. So on SoundCloud, they
okay.
have pretty good. So just type in whatever Gateway Experience or Robert
Yeah.
Monroe on SoundCloud, and it's. I mean, I'm not sure how great the quality is good enough to where it really is split. Where like if you listen to it on Spotify, it's not split. They're talking like you should hear me in your right ear, but I hear mostly in my right, but some in my left. The SoundCloud version is, when he says you should hear me in your right ear, I only hear him in my right ear. So
Oh
that's
wow.
been I mean, that's probably actually the way I use this the most so far was just with those different, and they're a good length, so they're like 30 minutes about on average.
Yeah.
So I'd be lying under the light while listening to those tracks, and that to me was a perfect pairing right there. And then the other one is I have a bunch of binaural beat tracks, got like 100 or something saved on my computer and on different flash drives. So I tried some kind of random different ones there, but yeah, I found just the ease of just being able to go to SoundCloud or whatever, and then put in my AirPods so I'm wireless to it, and then have this thing also wireless just sitting over me. That's been a really nice combo, compared to when I'm busting out my full on mind machines like the Casino or like the Inky Do Light, where you got all these wires. I'm wearing headphones on my head. So yeah, I've really been liking it, and kind of getting back to the thing where if they perfectly match up with the binaural beats or if they don't. Yeah, I've really found it to be not different really at all versus, just doing whatever, like the gateway tapes and this, or doing a properly synced up one with like the Casino or the Inky Do Light. So that's been a really good thing with it.
What 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 do you usually experience when you go on the light? You're quite an experienced lucid dreamer. Do you feel the light can help you in that practice, or what do you experience when you go on the light?
Oh, 100%. So I mostly go at it from like the stage one of sleep, liminal, hypnagogic area.
Yeah,
It's like when you were talking about I think it was the Schumann or no, Delta Gamma. I forget the one that is the
the
slowest that you were saying is
delta,
used good
yeah,
for. Oh yeah, yeah, Delta
delta, yeah,
used good
yeah.
for going to sleep. So basically, when I'm going under it, I'm always approaching that stage one of sleep liminal area. I use the flashing light as my object of attention that's happening behind my closed eyes. It gets me looking, gets my attention pointed towards where I want it to be as I'm waiting for these actual visuals and these background thoughts that I have in my head start to pop up actual visually to me. And then so I lock onto there. If I'm listening to music or if I got in earplugs or whatever, just keep holding that as my object of attention, letting myself sink down deeper towards sleep. And then once images start to pop up, similar to the way they would pop up if I'm doing hypnagogic meditation without it, like typically when I sleep at night, that's just how I fall asleep. So I'm doing this almost every single night. But it's good because it gets your attention where it should be. So I think it'd be really great for people who are kind of newer to this practice and don't really know how to do this stage one to sleep hypnagogic liminal work. It gets it pointed to where you want it to be. And then once you're in that state and you're learning to influence and control it, you really are working the same mental muscles, that you are within a regular straight up lucid dream. So there's a lot of carryover there, right?
Yeah.
With the ease that you can get to stage one of sleep, this hypnagogic visual area, you can, once you learn how to do it, you can essentially do it on command as long as you have a comfortable place to lie down and not be bothered and all that. So
Hmm.
because you can get there so consistently, it's just a great practice ground for, what would come later, trying to get lucid during RAM and have a straight up, standard lucid dream.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
But
that's
you
been
you
mine.
you exclusively, almost exclusively use it for lucid dreaming. Is that also the way you actually start getting into the practice with the light? Which light was the first one you had? Was that the
So the first one I came across was the Pandora
Okay.
Star. So it was a little bit after oh, was it before or after I started my channel? I'm not sure, but it was right around like 2019 ish, maybe 2018 at the earliest, right out. I think it probably was before I started my channel because before I started my channel, I was going to these local meetup groups, talking about different whatever things. And then I think it was over there because there was a girl who used to live here. She moved now, but she had the Pandora Star, and she would go around. They would have like sound bowls, and then they would also have these lights. And
I
so,
think, I think there's a group or a healing place. I think in Hawaii it's called Serena's Light.
so
Serena's.
yeah, I think this one. I think they called this one Light Alchemy,
Okay, yeah.
if I remember
All right.
correctly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I tried that one, and then I really liked it, and then I got super into it, and then I started looking around trying to get it. The Pantora Star was way out of my price range. I was never gonna get that. Like, in order to do that, I would have to do something similar to what she was doing, where I was going out and actually facilitating,
Yeah.
sessions for people. But I, wasn't. I just wanted it for myself. So then I came across the Casino. I liked that one. I just really didn't like having to wear the glasses. I just found them to be uncomfortable. My head's kind of big, so like they were tight on my face and all that, right? And so then, uh, I found the Enkidu randomly. Picked that one up. I like to use it, but it was more the hassle of like I have this really big, I bought like a full-on gigantic tripod just so I could kind of set it up to like
Yeah.
fit
Yeah.
under the thing.
Yeah.
That was
It's,
a hassle.
that's the
Also,
thing. That's really the thing. I think a lot of people struggle with, and they get the equipment, they have the equipment at home, and then they just have to think, oh my goodness, okay, I want to do it. Then they have to set up somehow a place to lie down. They have to place up the. It's just such. There's so much more to it
it's so
than you
much
think. Yeah, I
a
do it on the
hassle.
weekend, and
Yeah,
then yeah,
it's something so simple like this.
so simple.
Man,
Yeah,
like,
without having a variable, without having a
yep, you
variable.
just
Yeah,
lie right underneath that. It could fit obviously perfectly on my bed. That's where I would like to do it a lot. I got my AirPods in as I'm listening to whatever the Gateway Experience tapes, lying under this thing, you know. And then the other cool thing too is like my kids will see me use it a lot, so then they get interested. So they've tried it out too. So it's kind of nice to get them, interested in
but
some of this stuff.
so in general, I'm not suggesting it to children, because children in general have um, less they have more unstable brain waves, so their tendency to react with a seizure to flashing lights is much higher than with an adult.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but if you go for example, the slow delta program, I think that there's no harm in using it as a child. Also, when we think about games and videos and movies, how much flashing lights and action is going on there, so
You're
there's
catching a
definitely
lot
also
of
an aspect.
flashing lights. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but in general, I don't advertise it to children. But if you already mention it, what is their feedback? What do they experience on the life?
Oh, they like it. I mean, actually, they've been doing it. Well, I mean, my older one has used them. I mean, doesn't use them often, but he's used them for like the past 5 years or so,
Wow.
or something like that. Like,
Okay.
like, like as long as I've had the Casino and the Enkidu. Like when I first had the Enkidu, I was like busting that shit out for all my friends. So like they would come over. I'd be like, sometimes it was in like the worst setting possible. It'd be like in the middle of a party. I would like set it up. I would set it up in the bedroom and like, hey man, yeah, come try this. And
Yeah.
people would like take turns, kind of coming in and out. So my older son tried it then. My younger son, he's too young. He wasn't really. He just sat under it for a little while. I was like, okay, that's cool. I'm like, don't open your eyes. And then I couldn't trust that he wouldn't open his eyes. So I was like, okay, get out of here. But then,
Yeah.
yeah, the older one likes it. I can't tell how much I think, because he's still he's still gonna just try to tell me whatever I want to hear, I think, half the time. So he's like, "Oh, it's working really good. I'm seeing all this stuff," but I'm not sure. It's kind of like kind of a side topic, but like when he first started telling me he was having lucid dreams, like I just never really believed him because the dreams he was telling me, they just didn't sound like legit.
Yeah.
And then there was just one time where he told me a dream, and it was just the way that he said it. He was like snowboarding across these different peaks, so like from each island. So he was like snowboarding from the Big Island to Maui to Oahu, which is obviously impossible. The mountains don't connect. And so as he's doing this, he realizes that's impossible. And he realized he was lucid, and he saw a bunch of these lucid dreaming books piled up by a tree. And so then he wanted to bring them back for me. So he went and grabbed a bunch in his arms and then tried to wake himself up. And he's like, "Oh yeah," but then the books weren't there. And just that just rang so true to me. It was nothing like the previous lucid dreams that he told me before. So that one I always logged in my head. Okay, I think that was a real one. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
kind of similar stuff goes for like using the lights. He'll tell me stuff and it's gonna be like, okay, cool, sounds good. But you know, he doesn't
I
dislike
think,
it.
but when I work with my customers, so especially when I have events on, and everyone's a little bit different. Everyone turns up different in a space like that. You have the people, they turn up with their own mat and their own cushions and their own blankets. They turn up, they move the stuff I provide away to the side. They
Because they
use
have
their
all
stuff
their own bedding.
because they know that's the blanket keeps them warm. That's the cushion that supports the head most optimal and all that. And then you have people that come very shy into the room. They really don't know what they enter into. And then you have the very critical people, the people who need to know everything before they actually can let go and go underneath the line.
Yeah,
And it's interesting. I also wrote a blog post about it to the different types of uh,
people.
light users. And those
Yeah,
people bought the light. Some they need to have 22 emails answered before they even consider buying one. So there's a lot back and forth and talking about it, and other people that just buy one and you never hear again. It's just then I think 6 months later you have a message. Oh, wow, works great. And that's it. So
yeah,
you have a very different type of people. But what I found is that the ones who are very anxious or people who are very analytic, they kind of stop themselves going into a nice experience with it.
mm,
It's not saying that it doesn't work on them, but they kind of
they're overthinking it.
they're
Yeah,
overthinking it. They think, oh wow, is that supposed to it's and does everyone else see green? Does everyone else see red? Why do I see red? Is that because of the light? And it's just all these questions and all these um, doubts kind of
yeah,
come in during the session, and they kind of hold themselves back, going really far. And also when you look as a connection to the psychedelics, people take psychedelics and they can lean into the experience. They usually don't have the classic bad trip, or they don't have the darkness turning up. But as soon as you get
mhm.
tight and you try to prevent it from happening, then
Then
you
it happens.
then it happens. With the light, it just doesn't happen much. Then you basically just close yourself off of the beautiful experience. The light only allows it to go as far as you allow it to go, and
Yeah,
the psychedelic grabs you on your little shirt and pulls you through the whole experience. Um, but yeah, it's kind of surprising, just because you said because of children, because children have such a free mind and such a unjudgmental way to try things like that, so they can literally go underneath and just see what happens.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it
yeah.
often having a childish mindset or a childish
The beginner's mind.
curiosity, yeah,
Yeah,
being a beginner's mind really helps
yeah,
to have a great experience. And I can see that with my clients and the people attending the events, that just people just come in for we want to try that. Oh yeah, I brought my all my stuff and bought a bottle and everything. I'm ready for the journey. They really go deep into it, and the other ones they're very stiff and they barely breathe, and it's just yeah. Um, and unfortunately, is that the people really need the experience the most are the ones to hold themselves back from the experience. The the
uh,
ones where you think, yeah, you just need to loosen up a bit. You need to let your mind just run and experience things. These people, they need it the most. They're so tight
yeah.
and so strict with themselves that they not really can experience what they need to experience.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think like what would probably help a lot with that, or kind of just helps, I guess, like whenever I talk to anybody about using any of these types of machines, I always like to tell them like there is certainly a learning curve to it.
yeah,
You know, like maybe I'm sure for some people they'll get under it and they'll rock it off and have the best trip ever right away. But at least for me, I definitely found there was a learning curve to getting used to doing it. That's why a lot of times I like to try and now, of course, whenever I explain the technique, I only explain like what works best for me, and it definitely might not work good for somebody else. But at least getting under there enough to find out what works best for you and then how you like to use it. I think that goes a really long way to actually getting a good trip or a good use out of it. Like when I was showing it a lot to some of my friends, right? Some of them really caught on immediately. And then a lot of them are like, like what is this even supposed to be doing? And so I think I was really trying to tell them like, okay, well, you find that light, you try to find like a center spot, you hold your attention to it, right? You just think down
yeah.
deeper. Then as your mind gets quieter, you'll start to see like an image or something kind of flash up in that. Then you start to use that as your object of attention. You build it out, and it can progress from there. But I definitely found that there was, without a doubt, like a learning curve. The kind of cool thing though is, like I would use my Enkidu, my Casina a lot years ago. Never touched them for years after that, except for like maybe once a year because the Enkidu was expensive. I'll like test it out to make sure it still works. But
Yeah.
then when I got this, after not really doing much of any light machines or my machines at all, man, I picked it up immediately. Like
Yeah.
whatever skills I had from beforehand, I didn't lose them in a couple of years where I barely did anything. Like I picked it up really fast and could fall right in line with it.
So the
So
but when I had my first proper experience, I just couldn't believe that that is what you actually see. I just couldn't believe it. And I just couldn't believe that not a lot more people are doing it. I
yeah,
thought something has such a profound effect and such a gentle impact on your body. I just couldn't believe that it's not something most people are talking about. I just
yeah,
couldn't believe it. And I was so surprised that there is not a bigger market for different types of products already
yeah.
there. I just couldn't believe it. And I really wanted to change that. It just, um, when you think the effort people take on themselves to travel across the world, somewhere to the Amazon, in a culture they don't know, to meet people they don't know, in an environment they've never been into. It's warm, it's damp, it's dark, it's in freaking woods. You're surrounded with animals and insects and stuff you just can't take, and then you ingest a brew who makes you
And start
poop
puking
and
all over the
vomit
place.
and all that to
Yeah,
reach that wow state. I just couldn't believe that something simple like light can can give you that profound experience. I just couldn't believe it, and
right.
still to this day, I really, really struggle to understand why it's not more out there. It's been
Yeah,
doing it for 6 years, been um, different devices, always on the fair price side, always in for the laugh, always in for promoting the thing. I mean, there's no one becoming a millionaire here for me. It's not. Um, but
And I tell you what, if there is one device within this whole light machine market that's gonna blow up, 100% it's yours, right? Because it's like it's the
yeah, I
most
hope
reasonably
so.
priced. It's convenient, it's portable, right? All of that. So if there is
Yeah,
one that's gonna go off, it's without a doubt
and it's
your
proper
one.
light machine, and people really uh, use the Lucia, use the Pandora Star. People have these devices, spend all that money for it, and they use the Loom, and they tell me it's more or less the same. So,
Yeah, yeah,
it, it,
exactly.
it, it's not because it's cheaper. It's not a cheap device. It's not. It doesn't work less efficient or less effective just because it's in Lucia's case, £23,200 cheaper.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Right,
the
right.
effect is really the same there, and I just can't believe that not more people actually doing it. Jeez,
So I got like a question for you. So when you were using light, like what was the one thing that happened that really jumped out to you of being like of kind of like blowing your mind? Like I'll share mine first.
yeah,
So like what I first realized that like underneath the lights we get to some really trippy states is when I started like twisting and turning with it, and I felt like my body was spinning along with it. Now it's not too much uncommon. Like through a lot of OBE type work, I guess probably has this the most, but whatever. Get it through lucid dreaming and astral projection, whatever you want to call it. But like you'll get to these liminal states, essentially. What I really like to stage one of sleep, hypnagogic stuff. Once you start getting down to there, you can start playing with the vibrations or tilting, right? Like one of the really common OBE ones is you pretend you're like spinning on a head to toe axis, or a lot of times what I'll do is I'll pretend like I'm leaning back while I'm, in stage one of sleep, and it'll feel like I'm tilting backwards, and then I know I'm right on the edge of being able to enter into a dream or have an OBE type experience. But when it happened under the light, it was a lot easier to get to that state, and it was a lot more constant. Like normally when I'm doing it in the bed without the light, it's like I lean, I know I'm slipping in a stage one of sleep, I exit, I'm now in a completely different dream environment typically because I don't normally have the experience of like rising out of my body and seeing my body lying in bed. But then under the light, I'm holding on to it, then I'm kind of controlling it. Like when I see that center, sometimes it turns into like a swirl, and then I'll spin it one way, I feel my body twisting this way, I'll spin it the other way. I feel my body's twisting that way, and then just kind of getting into all of those states really, really blew my mind. And I was like, "Damn, that's a trip." You know what I mean? I got to try to show this to more people. So that was the one for me. What about you?
I have, I would say, overall three remarkable breakthroughs in with the light. Um, the very first one I had when I reached the point where I didn't see the flash anymore. It just
Oh,
kind of
look,
just became white,
yeah,
just white. Um, and it was quite a weird sensation because it was on a flashy setting like that,
it's an alpha.
and it was really intense. But then it started kind of melting into each other and became just white. But interesting is when I brought a thought up or was thinking about something specific, the whole thought process worked in such a different way. I can't really explain why, but it's just when it was thinking about something, it was certain things worked much faster. For example, when I um, was throwing a small math problem into the equation, immediately I had the number immediately. I was not even able to calculate, but I was just thinking about a math problem. The number was just here.
Hmm,
Or when
interesting.
I was thinking about a creative problem, and not really had to go all the steps. I just had, okay, that's what I want to have, and boom, it was already here. So my brain kind of worked in a complete different
Like
way. But
your
the
subconscious
visuals,
was kind of just coming through unhindered. It just
yeah,
pop out that answer. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, was that was the first time was that a really weird experience I had with that. The second one was, even though I have kind of that out of body experience with my meditation practice, where I kind of practice being outside of my body for a moment. When it happened the first time onto the light, it felt like I'm sitting up really fast.
Oh
So
yeah,
I
yeah.
was
I
laying
know that.
there
Yep.
and was just in my zone, and it was kind of whoa, like you will be making a scare jump, and it really felt like I'm actually being scared, but I could feel my body was still lying there, and that movement within that still body was quite a weird sensation. It was
Man, you
actually
were probably at the bottom. I have proper OBE. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I think we lost them. All right, so I guess there's three people watching. If you guys have any questions you want to throw my way, go ahead and we'll see if Joel can come back on here. Uh, yep, I'm here. Are you here? Would I have to invite you? Would I have to invite you back? I'll try. Hmm. I don't know how to work this thing. Okay, let's see. Boom. I just sent the invite back if you can hear me. Oh,
yes. I think we're
um,
still back.
all right,
I
cool,
think
cool.
you frozen for a moment, and I disappeared, and then I
Yeah,
came back. It
yeah,
was
yeah.
was
On
weird.
my end, I
Was
saw
was
you
was
freeze.
was kind
The
of
circle popped up and gone.
a virtual auto body experience as well there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
So that was the second one when I really had a proper out of body experience where I felt, oh wow, I have a movement, but my body stays behind,
Yeah,
and that really
yeah,
scared me. And I definitely needed a break after that for a while
yeah.
from the light because
Man, I love it when that happens. There's nothing
yeah,
to fear. You're
and
right there. You gotta just stay in it, and then it would progress probably into a full on lucid
yeah,
dream.
yeah. I afterwards when I came back into it, I really liked it. But the first time when it happened, it really scared me. Kind of, it really was
Mm.
very surprising.
Okay.
And
Hold on. We got a question come in. Can you constantly reach an OBE state if you practice that over time? Yes,
yeah,
absolutely. Now, I'm not super good at doing it on command myself, but I mean, without a doubt, you absolutely can drastically increase the success rate of it if you practice a lot. Now, of course, there's other little things you can do it in there, like combining it with wake back to bed. Obviously, would work really well too, but um, certainly it can work. Okay. Anyway,
I have in the booklet for the Light Magnify, I described a little tactics how you can achieve it, and the way I described it, you lay under the light. You start with maybe your foot or your hand, and you just move your finger, and
oh
then
yeah,
you feel how it feels like to move your finger, and then after a while you stop moving your finger, but in your mind you just keep that moving
yeah,
going and really go into
totally.
that. And then you do the same thing with your hand, and then you expand it to your body to the point where you really feel like you walking or dancing or whatever. And um, but you really just imagine how your body feels like when you have these movements going. And
Yeah.
after a while, you kind of reach the point. Um, you kind of reach the point where you have the movement, but your body stays still. So your
Yeah.
mind just keeps going, and that's where I found the access the easiest to go into that out
The
the body
OB. Yeah.
experience. Yeah. But when I have an out the body experience, I barely can leave the room. I can walk through the house and I can see myself on the bed. I can walk into my kitchen. I can go a little bit upstairs, but I can never really leave the room. As soon as I leave the house itself, I start questioning if I just basically play a movie in my mind. And as soon as that question comes up, I'm falling out of it.
Yeah. You wake up or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So I
yeah.
guess kind of on that topic, like, have you had much lucid dreams? Are you into a straight up lucid dreaming practice yourself or what?
Not really, to be honest. But for me, sleep is has been always a difficult thing. It
Oh
needs for me
no.
always quite a it needs for me always quite a while to fall asleep because I always go with a very active mind to bed.
It takes you more or less than an hour, or it's like what's your average if you had to guess to fall asleep?
But I would say an average is about half an hour to 45 minutes.
Hey, that's normal, man. That's good.
Yeah. But for
Yeah.
example, my partner falls to bed, 5, 10 minutes later, gone.
Out. Oh, okay, lucky.
Yeah.
That's a
So,
rarity. Like for
yeah.
me, I give myself 1 hour
Oh,
always.
really?
I mean,
Okay.
I just like I
Yeah.
don't stress it. Like if I go over an hour, I start to kind of get worried or whatever. And then typically I fall asleep in like 30-ish minutes.
Okay.
Like if I fall asleep in like 20 or less, that's good. You
And
know what I
but
mean? And then I track this stuff in my dream journal as well too.
but
But um,
when I finally fall asleep, I often have quite a light sleep, and it happens often that throughout the night I feel I'm not really sleeping, but I'm actually asleep.
yeah,
But I
yeah,
kind of just sit half awake in my head and waiting
yeah.
until the night is over. So and I had often because I know I'm sleeping because I'm tracking my sleep with my watch and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
I can see I go through proper sleep phases and everything. But it already happened quite a few times that I wake up in the morning, think, did I even sleep tonight? And then I look through my
Yeah.
sleep tracker and I can see more clearly I slept. But I was just sitting there in my head. So I try to, or my goal when I go to sleep is really sleeping and not trying
Sleeping.
to disturb my sleep
Well,
too much.
if you're a light sleeper, have you tried sleeping with earplugs? Because I'm a
Yeah,
super light sleeper too, and when I started sleeping with earplugs, it made a humongous
it
difference for me.
does. Yeah. And the big change for me was really when I swapped to silicone earplugs. That
Oh,
was,
but
yeah,
oh yeah,
yeah.
okay,
That
yeah, and you still wake up though, even when you're wearing, so you're still sleeping lightly,
that
even when you
definitely
are wearing
proves
earplugs.
it. That definitely
Mhm.
proves it. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I'm generally quite a light sleeper, and my goal when I go to sleep is just to have a restful sleep. That's
How
my
many
thing. Yeah.
hours a night do you get on average?
8.
Oh,
Yeah.
damn,
So
your sleep sounds
I
amazing, man. That's really
I
good sleep.
usually have to clarify that I try to stay in bed for 8 hours, and
Okay,
I have an average sleep between 6.5 to 7.25 hours.
okay.
That's
Yeah, 'cause it takes you like
so that's
45 minutes to fall
yeah,
asleep. So then that
yeah,
would only be like 7 hours and 15 minutes. Then you wake up to go
yeah.
bathroom or something. It kind of throws that off.
But
Okay.
I'm very strict with myself, going to the same time to bed and waking up to the same time. I just allow myself a long enough window to have enough sleep. If I have
Yeah.
a bad night's sleep, I at least allow myself long enough. I'm not the guy sitting till 2:30 in front of my telly and
I'll
thinking,
do
oh yeah,
that.
if
Yeah,
I if
that's
I
me sometimes.
I'm not going to bed when I'm tired. I go into bed when it's time to go to bed.
Smart man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how
Sleep
much dreams a night do you recall on average?
Um, I would say per week, roughly two or three,
2 or 3 a night or 2 or 3 a week?
2 or 3 a week.
Oh, two or three a week. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That is a little bit low. I was thinking if you had like if you're dedicating 8 hours to lying in bed, and you're recalling like 2 or 3 dreams a night, I would say you are perfectly ready to lucid dream already. But yeah, if you're only remembering like 2 or 3 dreams a week, then probably the first place to start if you wanted to try lucid dream more would be just to up your dream recall.
Yes,
You
two,
know.
three, 2 to 3 a week. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's roughly the as a young teenager, as a child, I had a lot of really heavy nightmare, and
Mm.
I was really, really vivid as it happened many times that I wasn't able going to school the day because I woke up was so overwhelmed by all the
Oh
images and
wow.
all these things I experienced, and that really lasted till my late teens. And at some point, it just started easing off, and it almost became the point where I started enjoying getting up in the morning and not being able to
Oh, not
recall anything.
being able to remember your dreams.
Yeah,
Oh man.
yeah,
I'm sure your dreams aren't always negative. Like I think if you would or like you but you can do like a simple little trick to up your dream recall drastically. Now this is assuming you can fall asleep relatively easy after briefly waking, but you put an alarm, keep it right next to you, have it go off at some point midway through the night, and then you have that alarm specifically just to wake up, immediately turn it off, and start replaying whatever dreams you have going on in your head. And then not only is that great just to remember your dreams more, but then it also gives you an opportunity where if you fall asleep quickly from that point on, you can really drastically increase the chances of you having a wild or awake initiated lucid dream. Or if nothing else, just, even if you don't catch the transition when you go from awake into REM and have a real wild, you can at least raise the chances of you maybe missing that transition. But then a little while after being in that dream, you'll realize, oh, wait, this is the dream in my head that I was trying to recall. Then you can get lucid you know.
yeah.
And then, and then if you're lucid, you can turn a very bad negative dream into a really good one. You know what I mean? So,
That's a good
right.
idea. For a while, about for 4 weeks, I had a little notebook next to the bed,
Oh, yeah,
and yeah, and when I woke up, I immediately
fair enough.
wrote down what I'd read, and that definitely helped as well to keep more information. I feel it's also something to do with mindset. When you wake up and you already start engaging with the
Oh,
upcoming
yeah,
day and start thinking about
good
what's going
point.
on,
Yeah,
things start disappearing quite quickly.
instantly,
If
totally. Yeah,
if you're more prepared to remember your dreams and wanting to more remember dreams more, then it's also happening more.
yeah,
But because I don't really have a massive lucid dreaming practice,
yeah,
for me going to bed is rest, and then my day starts, and then my head goes into other things, or goes
yeah.
into what the day brings, excitement for the day. And I feel that definitely contributes me not remembering a lot, because I'm quite early when I awake. Okay,
You're
that's
ready. You're ready to
yeah,
go
I'm
get it
ready.
already.
Yeah, that's what the whole
Yeah.
night waited for it.
Yeah. What
Uh,
can help though if you do want to try to remember is you wear like if you've got a sleep mask or something, because then it just gets you out the habit of like once you open your eyes, if you wake up, you're gonna lose some dreams right there. So you just gotta
yeah,
get into the habit of waking up, keep eyes closed, try not to move, start replaying those dreams back in your head to commit them to memory. And then even if you want to go ahead and journal too, like even if you are gonna journal, you have to spend time lying in bed first committing it to memory before you even get up to journal. Because if you sit up, open your eyes, grab a pen and paper, poof, that shit gonna disappear a
yeah.
lot of times, right?
When I did did sometimes during the night, and the next morning I went up, started reading my notes, and then you had notes like cat, wall, jump, away, door, silent.
Yeah.
What? What's that?
Well, sometimes you just put like little single words out there, and then you can
Yeah,
just remember those one words, and then you try to recall back to it, and it can
Yeah,
jog it.
and then all in handwriting you barely can decipher anymore.
Yeah. All right. So
Yeah.
we got a question in here. Why do you think journaling is not mandatory for nightmares? Um, as in you recall those pretty good after you wake up, even after weeks. Um, I mean, I think it should be. I think most people just probably don't care to try and work with nightmares or remember them, so they're trying to like forget that shit as fast as possible. So
But
they just blank it out. But I think if you did journal them and work through your nightmares, I mean, that could probably only do good things for you, right?
yeah, I mean, that I just some of the nightmares when I went up in the morning, I literally struggled to go into the
Oh
day
yeah, I
because
mean,
they're
especially
so
when you're
vivid.
young. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
When
they're
you're
so
young as a
vivid.
kid, I mean, that's how I had my first lucid dreams, although I wasn't able to control it. It was a recurring nightmare I was having when I was like 6 or 7 years old. After I had it the first time, every time it happened after that, it maybe happened like, I don't know, maybe like 5 or 6 times total. The second it would start, I knew what I was in for. I couldn't wake myself up at that point. I couldn't control it, but I would just have to suffer through the dream the exact same way, beginning to
Mm,
end. I always wake up at the very end and all that. But
yeah,
yeah, it was a trip.
yeah, that's awesome.
All right.
Just one.
Anyway, I gotta go a little soon. Just giving you a heads up on that.
Okay, okay. So yeah, me too. But I just like to say one thing,
Yep.
one last thing
Yep. No
is
problem.
the last 4 weeks we had every weekend we had an event, and it started 4 weeks ago with up north in Yorkshire in the UK. We had a day retreat, and I offered the Loom Light Bath as a one-on-one session, and we basically did one after another in 20-minute sessions. And the week after, I went down south, meeting someone. He's a creative guy, a graphic designer, and he's a breathwork instructor, and he lives in beautiful nature as well. And we had these breathwork sessions. I brought the loom lights along. Complete different setup, complete different people. People mostly in their mid 50s to late 60s, whereas the week before was everything between 25 to 35, and
Mm.
but a complete different setting. The week after, we went to Birmingham and had a party, classic party with DJ, music, and all that. It was an alcohol-free and drug-free party, and I basically offered the lights in that setup. Complete different setup, mostly young people, everything in the early 20s and some in the mid 30s. And just last weekend, 3 day event, Mind Body Spirit. We greeted more than 10,500 people over 3 days on that trade show, and offered the light in that setting. Also, very holistically oriented people, very, very, very unique people as well. Um, but in general, very peaceful and very nice. And when I created the Loom Light, you have always kind of a direction in mind what the product is for and for who is it for. And the last 4 weeks have shown such a versatile application for the light, and has shown that it's helpful for so many different types of applications and so many types of human beings, from elderly people who are really looking for maybe brain health stuff, to get more brain plasticity, get more clarity, to people who are looking more into emotional work with the light. And it's such an easy, non-invasive tool, um, and yeah, it's something really out there now, and something people
Yeah.
really can
And
start using and utilizing
accessible.
in their practice.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
in their practice. and I'm so grateful that that I have the possibility to bring it to people and to show it to different types of people. And if it's just an amazing experience I had the last 4 weeks over these different types of settings,
Yeah.
and talking to these different types of people, and hopefully people watching and might see might see that live stream later as well. That if you see it and you're interested in that mind exploration, and if you're interested in giving your mind a different twist or a different experience, then a light like that could be really a helpful tool. And
Yeah.
it's not really necessary nowadays anymore to go for a 20,000 pound light. So
Yeah.
it's £99, a device like that. It comes in two colors and 135 with a stand. And they're all made here in the UK. They're all it's not just something in Far East being put together and we just distribute thousands there. So each one is manufactured here in the center of England. Each one goes carefully through a testing process and into the box and all that, and it's shipped to people around the world. And I just hope that people seeing that video and seeing your content, that they are motivated and inspired to try out the light and just give it a go. And
Yeah.
if there are questions, or if people missing information, or if people want to know more about it, they can text or send me an email on lightpath.co.uk, and I'm open to questions. And I also have good friends who help me out to bring that message across the globe and to people. And I'm just very thankful that you took the time out of your day and yeah, gave
Yeah.
me the chance to talk about it. And yeah, I really
Right
appreciate
on,
it,
man. That was
your
very
content.
fun. This is like the first live I ever did, really. So obviously, I had major issues with YouTube. I don't know what the
We
hell
cried out
happened with
enough
that.
time.
So
Yeah,
anyway,
we're coming
we got
back.
it cracking on Instagram over here. And yeah, if anybody has questions about the light, I mean, you can also reach out to me. I'll hook you up with Joel over here. And then yeah, and then as Gabriel was saying, man, we could definitely do this again. I think it would be fun to kind of maybe touch on different topics. We can go down more strictly lucid dreaming route or something like
Yeah,
that,
that
or
sounds
hypnagogic
really good.
meditation.
Yeah, sounds really
Bringing
good.
some of this stuff with it though. But yeah, that was fun, man.
So thank you
Thanks.
for having me, and I wish you a wonderful day. For me, it's
Yeah,
in the evening.
what time is it over there? It's morning. It's like
It's
9:50
for me
a.m. over here.
it's 7:50. So it's my dinner is downstairs on the table.
Oh, nice,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. All right.
Okay, man. That was
Thank you
cool.
very much for having
Yeah.
me, and then
Yeah.
enjoy the rest of your day. All right. Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Take care.
Bye,
Hello.
everyone. Bye bye.
Yeah. Bye.